It's time. Time to get into the meats.
The meats. Okay, it's hyperpigmentation o'clock already.
Woo.
And it's going to be a dense one. You know, when I was putting this together, I was like, man, we've done this so much. Is there more to talk about? There's a lot more to talk about. So first things first, we have to start with biology review.
Yes.
But because we've done this a lot, we're going to go over it really quickly.
We're blitzing.
Yes. And you can read more to get a refresher on our blog for sure. So pigmentation can be caused by a lot of things. And the external aggressors like the sun, your hormones, irritation,
acne.
Yeah. All of these can kick off melanin production. And this melanin production, because of these external aggressors, might be a lot more hyperactive than it really should be. And this means your melanocytes is being very hyper, making a lot of pigments. And the way these cells make pigments is it has these tentacles, these finger-like tentacles. And there is a protein, there's an enzyme there called tyrosinase that dictates how fast melanocytes create these melanin. And once they made it, it goes through the fingers and it gets transferred up to the upper layers. And that's when this melanin becomes visible. This is a very normal process that gives each of us our unique skin tone. But when it becomes hyperactive, that is when you get your dark spots and kind of unevenness all around.
Yeah, totally. And so with that in mind, you understand, hopefully you guys hear that there's different steps in this process. Gloria calls out tyrosinase because that is a big focal point in skincare actives. A lot of them are all about curbing this cascade that happens in this kickstart from tyrosinase that signal the melanin deposits. So that's why we call that out in particular. There's also one step that will be looked at is also that kind of they call it melanosome. This is that melanin package deposit. That transfer, there's some focus on that as well. But yeah, with all these steps, we can immediately tell you that it's going to take a family of stuff to try to tackle different parts of this process to really just do anything to help. Yeah.
I know a lot of you will be searching for your particular type of hyperpigmentation or pigmentation issue. So one of the classic is you'll look up terms like melasma, sunspots, or PIH. The one thing that I do want to highlight here is that it doesn't matter what type of hyperpigmentation you might have. The topical treatments we've made largely the same.
That's a really good point.
But yeah, we should touch on some of these terms in more detail.
Yeah, so I think it can get pretty confusing, especially I feel like melasma and sunspots. I think people when you start Googling, they all start feeling like mixed together. Melasma we would consider to be probably the most severe of hyperpigmentation scenarios. And sunspots are really more of those like freckles. These are like smaller pigments that typically occur after a lot of sun. And they really hone in on the sunspots because there are some that will fade once you have less sun, but there are some that are a lot more permanent. So that's one realm. And then you also have your PIH, or post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. If you start dabbling in this realm, you'll also start hearing about PIE, which is post-inflammatory erythema. If you're wondering what the difference is, erythema is linked to inflammation. And this often gets tied together for acne individuals. Hate to say it, with acne, you're usually getting a blend of PIE and PIH.
Yay.
I know, so fun. But PIH is truly the more hyperpigmentation focus here, whereas PIE, you're really looking at that to do resolve over time a little bit easier. But honestly, it's a real combination of the three: PIH, PIE, and some scarring. Sorry. Yeah.
Yep. This is a really quick overview. Definitely check out our book or the blog for more.
Yeah.
But for this podcast, we're going to dive right into shopping. So
because it's a lot.
Yep.
And it requires a bit of a breakdown.
Yeah. I actually, for this episode, sometimes when we start putting episodes together, we start with the papers. Has there been anything new since we last did a deep dive in the subject? Is there something we don't know about? This one, I went straight to shopping. And that is why we decided that, okay, it's very confusing out there. We just decoded 2 hodgepodge products in the previous episodes. And we're here to tell you that the products out there get a lot crazier than that. But if you're really serious about tackling that hyperpigmentation, if you've been at it for a while, you're starting to realize that it is very stubborn. It is very hard. You might turn your attention to fancy schmancy, very expensive clinical brand products like your Skinceuticals and SkinMedica. A lot of these brands do come with really interesting clinical studies.
Yeah.
So for Meet Part 1, we're going to take a closer look at each of these famous clinical products, clinical tests.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, we got to start with SkinMedica's. Lyterra has been around for a long time.
It's probably one of those like
OG,
definitely. Pigmentation serums.
For sure. And to be fair, rightfully so. They've actually done a ton of work behind it. We should say, first of all, what is lyterra? It's a $160 hyperpigmentation serum that has actives like tranexamic, phenylethylresorcinol, niacinamide peptides, and phytic acid.
Yep. And I do want to call out, this is probably what people think of when you say hyperpigmentation, SkinMedica. Okay, lyterra. And it's kind of a cult favorite. This is probably the entry point for anyone venturing into like higher price tier hyperpigmentation serums. I want to call out their other serum, which is their TNS, which is their growth factor serum with a lot extract. The growth factor here is their proprietary ingredient that is really the star here. This clocks in at a whopping $295. It's their crown jewel in the anti-aging realm. But I'm bringing up TNS because some of SkinMedica's most interesting data actually comes from using lyterra and TNS in a combined system.
Yes.
So I should mention that these products have been tested individually by themselves, but I do find their combo test to be the most interesting. So first up, they tested a 4-product SkinMedica hyperpigmentation serum system. This one contains both TNS and lyterra. They call it the HQ-free or hydroquinone-free system versus a whopping 7-product Obagi new derm system. They are very ballsy. They straight up called out, yeah, we're coming after you, Obagi. And Obagi's new derm system does contain hydroquinone.
Yep.
They did the test for 12 weeks. This one is a smaller study. So there's 16 people in the SkinMedica group and 20 people in the Obagi group. And after 12 weeks, both were successful in reducing overall hyperpigmentation, model pigmentation area.
If you're wondering what model pigmentation is, that is kind of this, it's usually over a wider area of the skin. And modeled, you want to think of it as, I'm so sorry, but the word is like more speckled, but the idea would be a general area of that kind of like pigmentation. I'm sorry. There's not good adjectives for this at all.
You can find the hyperpigmentation, the lingo is
very brutal.
Yeah, holy
not
crap.
Yeah. Anyways, yes.
Yep. So the model pigmentation areas decreased. Severity index was also down. General global photo aging has improved. The Obagi group has also had reduction to roughness. Overall, there is no significant difference between the groups in terms of effectiveness and tolerability.
I think so. One of the things I think is kind of cool about it is hydroquinone is the gold standard for this category. So I think it's great that they did a head-to-head. If you're wondering, okay, we glossed over the 4 products. The other 2 products is a cleanser and a sunscreen. Hence why we find that the important focal point here is lyterra and TNS. But overall, I would say promising. Now, I do also think we should address, a lot of times Gloria and I don't like to tout regimens because it really feels almost like kind of gross that it's like you got to buy into a whole system to get results.
This is a $455 system.
There you go. But I feel like with hyperpigmentation and kind of how we were talking about how you have to tackle multiple steps and ingredients have to tackle multiple aspects of pigmentation. I kind of get it for this realm that usually you need a regimen to really, I don't know, make a difference.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is, again, the study size is small, but what I really like about these really higher level clinical brands is there's a lot of benchmarks. So you can kind of assess
100%,
how it works. So hydroquinone is a little controversial. It's known to cause certain side effects like flaking, irritation, and also the halo effect on some skin types. And so this is a great alternative compared to a hydroquinone system. And you might not have the access to a prescription required type of regimen anyway.
Totally.
But they didn't stop here. They kept going. They're like, well, okay, this bench is cute and all, but we are gonna, we want to shine the light on our system. So they did another clinical test. This one also uses their facial cleanser, a TNS essential, the TNS serum, lyterra, their rejuvenating moisturizer, and their daily physical defense sunscreen. So a full-on SkinMedica system. This is a whopping 24-week clinical.
Yeah, you thought 12 weeks was longer than normal. 24 weeks. Very good.
And this time was 72 individuals. They recruited people with moderate to severe photo damage. And what I really like about this study is the duration. Most studies are 8 weeks. Hyperpigmentation studies is when you kind of stretch into that 12-week zone. 24 weeks is incredibly rare. And something that they are very proud of that they call out as well is you don't see a plateau.
Yes.
You can see the chart we're going to put up here is through the entire duration of the study across parameters like overall hyperpigmentation, photo damage, fine lines, coarse lines, and skin tone evenness, and even tactile roughness, which I find that term to be kind of humorous. It starts improving at 4 weeks, but continues to do so throughout the 24 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I think sometimes we always think in the 4 to 8 week realm, and then people start wondering like, okay, I've done all I can with my product. It's time to move on.
Same skin cycle time.
Yeah. And that's not how that works at all. And I think the other thing I wanted to highlight, and I don't know if Laura would agree with me, is like, if you look at the 4 week time point and you look at the percent change, I almost want to bet you're not actually visibly able to see those results. You know, like I think that it's going to feel like you're almost like it feels mystical. And so I think that's why, you know, giving it enough time, especially in this category, having that much patience is so important.
Yeah, that's such a good point. If you look at just overall hyperpigmentation at the 4 week time point, it's like what, at 6%?
Yeah, nothing.
It honestly feels like if you sleep extra well, you're gonna feel like your skin looks a little better.
Or you did an AHA mask and then you're like, oh, that worked better than my hyperpigmentation product. You're like, no, like that's not how that works.
Yeah, and by week 24, that percent improvement comes in at over 20%, which I believe is more visible by that point.
Yeah, I think this data is super cool. It makes it a really good case for just how long you have to use something to see and get that improvement. Yeah.
Yep. So that's SkinMedica's rather pricey but well-tested system.
And why it's been pricey and been around for as long as it has.
Yeah,
for sure.
And SkinMedica is one of the few brands that we don't see regimen studies as much.
Yeah, that's true.
In hyperpigmentation studies, they usually do give them a gentle cleanser and a sunscreen, but usually just test the one product. So I thought it's like, that's kind of neat. They do have tests on these individual product, but I think it's cool to show the whole routine as a whole.
Also, yeah, because you want the results.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Next, Skinceuticals.
Yes.
We got an awkward one. This first study is on the advanced pigment corrector.
That was around when Gloria and I were at L'Oreal.
Many moons ago.
R.I.P.
Yes. It's awkward because advanced pigment corrector has been discontinued.
Yes.
But we still want to talk about this test because it is a very interesting test.
Yeah.
This was a 12-week clinical with 82 people, with 41 in each group. They applied the test cream twice daily, which is advanced pigment corrector, RIP. And then in the other test group, they benched against a 4% hydroquinone and a 0.025% tretinoin applied nightly.
Juicy.
So-
Now, is that a combined product or one after the other?
One after the other.
Wow.
So
Pretty good.
So a pretty
Juicy.
aggressive regimen. And if you have hyperpigmentation, you go to a derm, this is likely the combination they might prescribe you. And this is a prescription required type of routine. So after 12 weeks, the prescription side had tolerability issues. But in terms of the efficacy in hyperpigmentation, the two cells had parity in terms of even skin tone, decreased spot intensity, decreased spot size, and improved overall pigmentation. And they have a pretty impressive before and after picture for the side that uses the test product.
Yeah. All I can say is RIP. And if you're curious about what's in Advanced Pigment Corrector, it's typically the blend that they had was a it's I don't want to say it's proprietary, but more in their realm is hydroxyphenoxypropionic acid, ellagic acid, yeast extract, and sal acid. So that was the cocktail of ingredients.
Yeah, ellagic acid has great data, but you don't see it a lot because it has a ton of formulation issues.
Another one.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the best ones have skeletons in the closet.
Yep, of course. So you might think, wow, this is a great product with great results. It just kind of fizzled out of the market.
I did want to add a point, and I think maybe just a review for people who haven't heard this before, but cocktails and the cocktail effect is important here.
Yeah.
It's also why, mysterious blends, they sound like great things, but you really don't know what happens until you test them.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes what happens is when you put these blends together, you get the cocktail effect where 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 3 or 4. But you really don't know until you have studies like this, which is why Gloria has categorized this in its own realm of like clinical high-priced pigmentation products, because the data, you wouldn't know anything at all unless you had the data.
Yep,
so
for sure.
Did want to mention that.
Cool. But in the ashes of an Advanced Pigment Corrector comes
a phoenix rising.
Discoloration defense. That is a product that is still being sold in the Skinceuticals line. This one features a lot of familiar ingredients. We have 3% tranexamic acid, 1% kojic acid, 5% niacinamide, and 5% hepes, which is their mild cell turnover helper. They actually put it through 2 different studies. The first one is a 12-week clinical with 50 people. People mild to moderate. This is important because the other one's moderate to severe. Facial discoloration with stubborn dark spots, post-acne marks, and uneven skin tone. This is twice daily use with sunscreen. And in that study, they had 60% average improvement. I really like that because sometimes clinicals will highlight like
up to.
Yeah, exactly. The up to lingo is very tricky. So 60% average improvement is pretty impressive because 60% you can already expect it to be visually perceptible versus like a 10%. And then also a 59 average improvement in appearance of skin discoloration, 81% average improvement in appearance of post-acne marks, which is very impressive, and 59% average improvement in the appearance of even skin tone. And then the numbers are great. And then they put it through another clinical study. This one's also 12 weeks. 12 weeks is spelled 233KS.
Yes, I saw. I watched it. 12 teaks.
12 teaks. Also 12-week study with 51 people, but this time with people with darker skin.
I love that. I think that's awesome.
Fitzpatrick 5 to 6, which is definitely on the highest end of the Fitzpatrick scale, with signs wow. With signs for skin discoloration, hyperpigmentation, both PIH and melasma twice daily. And they were also able to observe a 30% reduction post blemish marks at 12 weeks.
I really love that they did this because oftentimes darker skin types get forgotten.
Yes.
And the behavior of hyperpigmentation is slightly different. And so I think it's very cool to understand how that works for this category as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really love the 2 studies of the discoloration defense. Does it feel like a proper replacement for advanced pigment corrector? I don't know. It seems like it works really well, but I also love that advanced pigment corrector was benched against a very aggressive target with hydroquinone and tretinoin.
I know. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
I did want to say one thing to keep in mind about this category that we should call it is a lot of them are using it twice daily. And I think sometimes people feel like serum should only be used at night. But with hyperpigmentation, it's like, no, as much as possible.
You wake up, you put it on. You go to sleep, you put it on.
Yes, exactly. So this, I think, and we'll talk about this more when we actually talk about routines, is that your daytime routine is a lot fuller than the average other, like everyone else's routines. Yeah. So
one last thing to call out on discoloration defense, Skinceuticals does mention on their website with that lovely 1% kojic. It's not your imagination. Your serum's turning black on you. So if you get it, use it up rapidly.
Yes. Cool, dark place, vampire settings. Do what you can.
Do not hoard.
Yeah. Don't buy bundle deals. Because I do feel like sometimes you'll get that with Black Friday and whatnot. And this is definitely one of those, like, you don't want to do that. For sure. Cool.
Last but not least, we have Alastin's Illuminate Brightening Serum.
I gotta be honest, I'll see this in med spas and then I'll see the price and I'm like baffled. But lo and behold, testing.
This one is $168. It has tranexamic acid and niacinamide. It's not your imagination. Tranexamic acid and niacinamide is in a lot of stuff. But it also has their proprietary, they call it their Path 3 technology.
Yeah,
I don't know what that really means, but it's their technology. Wow. Okay. And this one, they also had a study that benched against hydroquinone.
Very cool.
Yep. So it's a smaller study, about 20 subjects per cell. On one cell, they used the Illuminate serum twice a day. And then on the other cell, they used 4% hydroquinone once a day. In just this small study of about 20 per study cell, the hydroquinone already has 5 cases of adverse side effects. Just to give you an idea of what are the likelihood of you experiencing some sort of mehness from hydroquinone.
Yeah. And so they looked at things like dyschromia, which is really just that uneven skin tones. Honestly, can also be chalked up to hyperpigmentation spots. Tone, clarity, evenness, radiance, and texture. They also we'll share the before and after here of using their Alastin product on skin over time. But yeah, all in all, definitely makes a case for using this product.
Yeah. So that kind of sums up the 3 types of studies we've seen out there with in this category.
Yeah.
A couple things I want to point out. One is all of them have done studies that compare that bench against standards like hydroquinone, like prescription level hydroquinone. Yes. And that to me is, when they charge you $160 northwards of $160 serum, this is the type of studies that honestly I think people should expect to see.
And justifies the price tag.
Yeah. And if you see things in this price tag and you don't see that kind of study, then we'd say it's not worth it.
No, definitely not. Just because of also think about it this way. The amount you're about to pay, the timeline of how you're going to be using this, it's definitely an investment.
Yes.
So it better come with the right set of data to prove that. Yeah.
So of the 3, which one would you buy?
Oh, God. This is hard. Okay. If I was being serious. And it's not a recession.
It is not. Yeah. No. Budget is not the issue here. This is investment.
I gotta be honest. I think I am just so curious about the lyterra duo. But holy crap, am I crying?
Yes, exactly. I
so curious.
I think I agree.
I don't know. It's painful, but man, I will say my routine is on point for 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm not messing around.
If I'm already spending the money, you bet I'm using it twice a day on the dot.
On the dot. I am purposely getting out of bed at night if I'm just lazy, and I'm definitely putting that shit on.
I think I agree with you. Like, I'm like, wow, this routine. I'll do something.
I am typically one that's very skeptical of the general, like, I don't know, stem cells, fibroblasts, like all of that. I just feel like there's too much mystery, but I feel like I'd have to give it a shot.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
case.
And I think that's like, for people who've been listening to podcasts for a long time, you'll know that sometimes we can be very critical.
Very.
And kind of mean.
We try not to, but yes.
Yeah, to very expensive products. And this is why, when it comes to the price tag, this is the type of stuff that we want to see. So yeah, we hope this was helpful.
Yeah, this is just one category.
Yeah.
And me part 2 will be going through the rest.
Yep. And it's really time to take a break.
Yes.